In our last segment, we saw how LeafGuard gutters are made to produce a one-piece hooded gutter that sheds leaves and debris. We also learned about their color options and the extra thick coil stock that's used to fabricate them. Now let's head out to an installation and check out some of the other components that make up a LeafGuard gutter and downspout system. Oh, Andy, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. Cleaning out your gutters. I mean, why on earth would anybody want to climb up 2 or 3 stories, risk their neck just to clean the gutters when there's an alternative with LeafGuard?
Yeah, you know, you look how high up that is and the risk you have for cleaning out your gutters. I can see how it gets put off. You know, I know homes like this, those upper gutters never get cleaned until they absolutely have to, and usually the sign that people have to clean the gutters when water is already overflowing down into the windows or the basement.
Well, fortunately with LeafGuard is we educate people on it. The alternative means you never have to worry about that. We showed back at the shop the LeafGuard gutter itself, but I know from past shows there's much more to it than just that. There are numerous different components.
There's lots of different pieces that go into the LeafGuard system. Not just on the gutter system, but how it's attached to the roof to make sure no water can ever get between the gutters and the fascia.
Well, I see the guys have a lot of those components laid out there. Let's go take a look at what makes up a LeafGuard gutter system.
Just like we saw back at our shop, here is the only one-piece seamless covered gutter on the market today.
And I love looking at the ends of it, how thick and durable that is. No wonder it's so rigid and lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, that was really big. When we picked the materials to make LeafGuard, we wanted to make sure that it was at least 20 to 30% thicker than ordinary gutters, just so we could lean a ladder against it. And again, we're talking about something we want to last 30, 40 years. We're going to pick the best materials possible. Okay, well obviously it revolves around the gutter, but what are the other components that make it stay in a house for a lifetime? Well, first off is our internal bracket. A couple of really cool things about this bracket. One, it slides in very easily. And we put this every 24 inches inside the gutter. Now if you look really close here where the screw goes into the gutter, you notice that that's above the water line. Why that's important?
Sure, because the most the water could get is right here.
Yeah, if this gutter were to fill up completely with water, and this year is one of those years we've had more heavy rainstorms than I can ever remember. If this were to fill up completely with water, it would never be able to get to that screw hole and leak into the fascia board. When you're putting something on that's going to last forever, you want to make sure that the fascia is really protected.
Sure, and when you tout yourself as the only one-piece gutter, it's one-piece seamless. You don't want to jeopardize its integrity with a screw hole. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And one of the other cool things about it, most of these brackets that get installed in gutter systems actually come out and attach to the face of the gutter.
I've seen those.
One, I don't like the way they look, first and foremost, but what that does is it creates a catch point. So everywhere that one of those brackets are, tree debris can actually sit there. And if you take a look at the gutters in your neighborhood, you're going to find one of these, and it looks like the gutter system's actually regurgitating tree debris about every 2 feet or so. That's because the bracket is installed wrong.
Sure, and you know, once these LeafGuards are installed, I actually personally think they add a nice look to the house. And that's probably why, or at least one of the reasons why, is because there aren't any of those clips there, so they're not going to collect any debris, is what you're saying. And not only that, but once debris is ever collected on those, rain hits it and then they start streaking.
Exactly. We don't want to get any of that tiger striping on our gutter system. You know, the next thing that we do is actually install the end cap.
Oh, sure.
We actually have tested over 25 different types of sealants before we chose the one for LeafGuard. Again, lifetime leak warranty. It ever leaks, we come out and fix it. We're going to make darn sure we're using a good product here. We just run a bead of silicone along above the water line, gets attached to the gutter. One screw here, one screw here, one screw here, 3 fasteners hold on the end cap, because you know we're going to have some expansion and contraction, so you're going to make sure everything's fastened right, and this seal can never be broke.
And again, the nice thing is with a lifetime guarantee, am I correct in assuming if it ever did, the unlikely event that it ever did fail, you're going to come out and fix that anyway?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No questions asked.
Okay, so you have a bracket to hold it on, you have the end cap, the quality sealants, but there's still other components.
If you notice up on the roof here, we install what we call our blind flashing. our flashing that actually goes up and underneath the ice and water shield. So there's a piece of metal that comes down their wood fascia board right now that's going to protect that. The gutter goes solid against that, and if you hand me the small piece of metal back here, we have what we call our third line of defense. If you notice that our hood here, it's slightly slanted where gravity is going to make the water go into here. We have our drip edge. So in order for water to get back here, it would actually have to run uphill. Well, we don't stop there. We install a custom flashing that just slides underneath your shingles, does absolutely nothing to compromise the integrity of your roof line. But what this does is ensures that there's no possible way for water to get between the fascia board.
Sure, because we've seen that on other gutter systems where you look and any of the fascia that's exposed below the gutter, you see watermarks on there. And that's because water has gotten behind the gutters.
Yeah, just how LeafGuard works, the capillary effect, where water's going to curl around it in, it's going to do that same thing on your shingles. It's going to try to curl back to your fascia board, and this flashing here stops it and puts it into the water management system.
Okay, and that's on every single one of the homes you do?
Every single one of the homes we do. Now this house is pretty unique. It has what we call a step fascia. And if you see this here, we install this again before the gutters are. It just goes along the bottom of the gutters here. And what this does is ensures that there's never going to be any low points in your system. Without installing this, any type of gutter system is going to want to lean back towards the house. And when it does that, that's going to create a low spot. So you're not going to have a good flowing water. Potentially water could get in there to that low spot, start to build up, and that's when you have overflow issues.
Again, there's no substitute for attention to detail on the installation. What's the next component?
One of the things that we haven't really talked a whole lot about is corner pieces. You know, it'd be nice if every house was perfectly straight, but they're going to have ins and outs, and we actually have a custom manufactured corner piece for the LeafGuard. Now, if you take a look at this, that sealant I was telling you about that we tested 25 different sealants of, we actually run our sealant along the seam here, and then we put 2 beads on each side. Put that up and in onto the miter like that, onto the gutter. Other piece of gutter comes in here. When that's all said and done, we actually then take the hood, and this hood can be adjusted to make sure that our gap always remains the same. Again, a corner piece with a seam that has a lifetime leak guarantee. The biggest reason we can do that is because we know that we're going to make our corners line up right, and we're going to seal them properly, and 20 years from now, you won't have a dripping corner.
Again, it all comes down to attention to detail. You got to start with a great product, but if it's not installed properly, it's not going to work properly.
Exactly. You know, the last thing that is kind of overlooked when people are talking about gutter systems, and it's very important, is the downspouting system. Now, if you look here, the ordinary downspout, the ones that are on this house right now, are 2 by 3 inches. That gives you 6 square inches of water. We use the 3 by 4 inch downspout.
Sure, 3 inch by 4 inch, that's 12, it's double.
Exactly, so you're doubling the water capacity. Now what's really unique about this, give that a squeeze once.
That is rigid.
Yeah, it's as heavy as dutyest downspout that we can find.
Boy, I like that too, it's also hinged.
Yeah, we actually manufacture these at our shop, and every one of our jobs gets these. The extensions that go out in your yard, you know, if you're mowing lawn, if it's one you have to move, and every time you pull those off and on, off and on, off and on, you actually wear on the metal. Pretty soon a light breeze picks up and your downspout extensions are in the neighbor's yard. And that does you no good to have a nice gutter system that's draining right next to the foundation. This eliminates that. You need to move it, you just flip it up, flip it back down, never wears on the metal, and your downspout extensions will never be at the neighbor's yard.
And as thick as that metal is, they're going to last forever just from a durability standpoint.
Yeah, a lot longer than an ordinary downspout for sure.
Stick around, we'll see how LeafGuard gutters are professionally installed next. We continue with today's Home Remodeler.